Good evening. Thank you for joining us for another of our TeleArtworks online lecture demos. Before we begin, I should like to give you some information about the Atelier at Flowerfield, a 501(c)(3) not-for-profit organization. We are currently in our 4-3 session. We offer a variety of fine art drawing and painting classes in a variety of mediums, both online and in studio. We also offer classes in digital painting and illustration. Details can be found on our website, theatelier@flowerfield.org. Our current exhibition is the third annual Atelier Invitational, which runs until January 19th. Tonight's demonstration is being sponsored by First Republic Private Wealth Management. This pre-recorded demonstration is titled Painting the Figure from Photographs and is being given by Philip Levine. We welcome him this evening. We hope you enjoy tonight's demo.
All right, so here we are. I'm going to demonstrate how I do a painting. And usually what I do is include at least one figure in each painting, and sometimes more, sometimes 3, sometimes 5. Somehow I'm believing in the principle of an odd number of figures in a canvas work better, but that's not a hard and fast rule. Some of mine have one figure in, and some have more than that. And very rarely do I do a painting without any figures in. I always, to me, the figure is the foundation of art, the painting. It has been for hundreds and hundreds of years. And it's the thing that really interests me the most, which is why I've studied anatomy for artists a number of times. Whenever there was a weakness in my work, I did something to strengthen it by going to a special class, taking sketching classes, drawing classes, going to the museums, taking pictures of, reading books about composition and color and doing color charts. I spent many, many hours doing that kind of thing. And so now that brings me up to where I am now. So what I'm going to do is first show you the pictures I'm going to work with. And what I do, the ideal thing would be to find one picture that has everything in it. The background, I do mostly city scenes, but I've done some sports stuff, some boxing. I've done some Civil War paintings, more action-oriented, Indian War paintings, imaginary scenes that I developed using different photographic materials. But in this case, I'm going to start with this. This is, some of you may know this in the city, in West Village. It's called Manelli and Sons. It's on Bleecker Street, just a couple of blocks from where I live. And there is a figure in the doorway there. It doesn't really interest me. So this one, these are 2 people. I love how what I'm trying to do is find figures that actually work together. They're involved with each other rather than isolated and separate. So I found these guys, guy and woman, somewhere else, a different part of the city, different part of the village. So I printed them out and I said, well, I'm going to put this one, these figures with this Manelli scene. And one thing I really am still struggling with at times is when you do that, you really have to get the scale correctly. If the figures are in the painting that you photographed, everything's in one painting, in one photograph, you don't have to be concerned about the scale of the figure. In other words, it's easy to make a figure too big and you bring it from somewhere else and you say, hey, wait, that figure can't get in that doorway. How are they going to do that? So it's important to focus on that. And yet, on the other hand, there have been examples of artists, and I'm thinking about Edward Hopper for one, who's done a number of paintings where if you look at the figure and say you look at the bed where the figure's supposed to be, that figure does not fit on that bed. There's no way. And yet he got away with it. And the painting is probably worth millions now. So sometimes those rules can be broken as well. But anyway, what I'm going to do first, I like to draw in. I'll just draw in a couple of lines to kind of indicate where I'm going to. By the way, the palette I'm using here, you can't see much of it, but I like to put out a lot of paint because for me, it may sound a little silly, but painting is about paint, and the more the merrier. So I like to put out a bunch of it. I have yellow ochre, cad red, cad yellow light, orange, cat orange, something called Fire Red, which is I get my paints from Classic Oils out in California. They make them in corking tubes, which is phenomenal. I mean, it's economical, it's a good quality paint, and they're the only ones who sell it. You can't get it at Dick Blick or anywhere else like that. So then I have that Fire Red, which is instead of Cad Red Light, and then Quinacridone, and they have something called Platinum Violet, which I like, Burnt Sienna, and I have the two phthalos, green and blue. I like phthalos. They're strong. That's what I like about them. But you can mute them. You can do anything with them. That's why it's important to do color charts, because when you do color charts, it takes a long time to do them. But once you get them done, you really know what paint, what mixtures you can use, and what you're going to get when you use those mixtures, those paints together. And then my last one is black. And you say, well, black's not a color. And I say, yeah, probably, but I don't mind having, I love having black on my canvas, on my palette, because I mix it with every other color. And black by itself would be dead, but when you start mixing it, I can mix it with ochre, with yellow, with red, with green, with blue, doesn't matter. I'll always find a use for it in any painting. And it adds vibrancy, it gives electricity, vibrancy to the black. So I'm all in on black. So this is a fairly simple composition. What I do is, we all have our habits, right? And mine, I just put some yellow and violet together, make it really, really, really watery, kind of, just to do some sketching. And I try to keep things loose at first, thin at first. So I'm just going to, if you can see this. Anyway, this is like a very simple composition. By the way, this canvas is the blue series from Dick Blick sells it. What I love about it is it's a smooth surface, so you don't wrestle with the canvas. You put the paint on, it stays on the surface, doesn't soak in. I like that. Anyway, so basically the opening is going to be like this over here, sidewalk here, this other doorway over here, this, and then sidewalk will come to here. And some, you can always change things up. So that's just the basic structure of this. That's the basic structure. Then what I will do, well, I'll set up where let's see, so here's the sign, automatically sign up here, and they have a little awning over here, and the doorway is here. So this doorway will give me an idea of the scale that I need. So I'll take the figures, and I could put them in. I can put them anywhere. It doesn't have to put. I don't have to put them. I prefer not to put them in the middle of the canvas. So in this case, I might put them off to this side a little bit. So the head shouldn't be up any higher than this, basically, and the feet would be down here. Head even be a little lower, maybe. So I just started brushing something in, just to get it in. Give me an indication of where things are at. And I'm not afraid to erase and redo if I don't like it, because you can do that with oil paint. It's really easy. And you don't get married to, well, I put it in here, I have to keep it in here like that. No, you can change things around. Just your hands over here, everybody will come down this way. And again, the struggle is always getting the scale right. I don't want the feet to come down off the bottom of the canvas. Sometimes what I've done, which is great, I use this. This is a compass. And it's great for measuring your figure. So like, I might take a measurement of her head. See that? Yeah, measurement of her head. Then go 1, 2, 3, 4, and see how many head lengths she is. So this sometimes helps when I get stuck. But equally as important, really, is, I've studied anatomy and all that, but really, this is the best tool for anatomy. you never have to really, no, I mean, you could study anatomy, it's great. One program they have called Anatomicon, where you build each muscle with a piece of clay, mold it to what the muscle looks like, and then you put that on the skeleton form, and you build the whole figure that way. It's a great way to learn about what's going on underneath the skin. But without that, things that are important to me, like, these are the things that indicate stuff to me. Like, I show this. I might run a line down, vertical line down, from the front of his nose down to see where it lands in front of his feet, and then from his back, his arched back, where that falls. So this will help me line up the figures correctly. And again, during the process, there's always corrections to make. Sometimes I'll have to rub out the whole figure and just start again. Anyway, so here we go. Their faces are about the same height. And he's got the hat here. Put that in. And already I'm starting to see that, like, I'm going to get in trouble if here's his chin, and here's the crook of his arm over here. I draw a straight line that way. His arm's going to come up this way. This. Here. It's a start, decent start. It's kind of hunched over. See, that's important. Hunched over. And then to get her in there, her head's pretty much the same height as his. And his nose, I mean, all these little things, like see where his nose is. All these little details. His nose is next to her cheek, and his elbow, the height of his elbow compared to where she's at. So I draw a horizontal line. Okay, where on her does his elbow come out? Those kinds of details I'm always looking at. So the bottom of her, okay, here. So this is going to be her head. Her hand's over here by his hand. And then her jacket comes out just kind of below where his is, about the same height. And the belt is over here. Just indicate where the feet are. And if I find myself going a little too far to the street, well, I'll just make the street a little lower, that's all. The gutter where the sidewalk ends. So that's where the figures will be. And then I'll go back here. I'll leave that for now, because I like to keep the figure one step ahead of the rest of the painting. And then within the figure, especially when I'm painting from life, the figure, I'll always keep the head one step ahead of the rest of the body. But in this case, because the head's so small, it's not a big issue. So I'll just, so they're actually going to be forward from the, as you can see from where the door is. So the door's going to be over here. Sign Avenelli is up here. And then goes out here. I'm not worried too much about a lot of accuracy yet. And I like this door next to Avenelli here. That adds some interest. Again, I'll just indicate where things are at. It continues over here. There's an awning that starts over here. So what I do, now that that's done, what I like to do is take a slightly bigger brush, like this one. And again, keeping it thin, I want to darken a little bit. There is light down here. There's light down here below, but above there it's in the shadow. So I just can take just a tone, doesn't even matter what it is, I'm not even sure what I'm mixing here. I'm just mixing what feels right, keeping it really loose. And then, because what I really want to do is I want to outline the figures with that. So, let me just check loose. I do try to cover the white pretty much fairly early on. Otherwise, later on in the painting, those little white spots start showing through, and then you have to start filling them in. And I'd like to get that done now. I'm just mixing some red and green, some burnt sienna, some phthalo, just getting something in there. And that can all change later as well. So to me, the figures, I look for a certain kind of light on the figure. And I like rim lighting, or they call it rim lighting, or just like just a sliver of, excuse me, just a sliver of light that's going to be on the figures. It's, for me, either you can have more shadow than light in the figures, or more light than shadow in the figures. 50-50 doesn't work so well, I feel. So try to make it 3/4, 1/4, or anything else. And sometimes even just straight light. I mean, it doesn't have to. There's somebody standing in the doorway. I might include them later. So all I'm doing still is covering the whole canvas. And I'm absolutely going to work on this when I get home. So I'm not going to finish it here. But for me, it'll be a start too. This canvas is 30 by 24, kind of a size I like. The sizes I use are this, and I use 30 by 40. Those are my two favorite ones, actually. I'm still mixing a lot of paint thinner. Because if you work on a large canvas like this, or larger canvas like this, it takes more time to cover it. Let's see where we're at here. Then, this is going to be, all this is going to be in the light down here. So I could leave that white for now. But you know what, I'm not going to. I'm going to put a stain, a color there. Because it's not going to be the strongest light. I want the strongest light to be on the figure. So, let's see, I see some green in the street. I mean, I'm looking at the photograph, and because I painted so many hundreds, thousands of hours from life, I can pretty much see color. And they just taking a little yellow ochre, but it's also mixing a little bit with the colors I used before. So I might just get this in here a little bit. And living in New York City like I do, this is going to be the sidewalk, of course. The streets are, even though this street shows the green stripe there, I'm not sure I'm going to put that in. I like the, and it also shows shadow, a big shadow here, which I'm also not going to put in. Instead, I'm going to make that as if it's in the light. And I would like, generally what I like is violet and blue in the street, or violet and green. Let's see here what we got. change later. A little bit, we'll add it up a little bit. I don't start putting a lot of thick paint on until later. I try to solve all the problems early on. Now, from this, of course, you see there's the Ottomanelli sign is going to be up here. And then there's a fire escape we can't see, but you do see some of the shadows of it, as you can see, on that upper, this side here. Ordinarily, I would like to include a fire escape and then show the shadows underneath it. I didn't get that in the picture this time, but this is more for demo purposes. So I'm going to go ahead and get into the figures a little more now. And for me, it's always continuing to establish the drawing, going back and forth, continuing to establish the drawing. And sometimes I just use a strong color to do it, like outlines. I have no problem painting with outlines. I kind of like them. I mean, Van Gogh, some of his stuff, is dark black outlines of some of his scenes. And I'll use that sometimes. That doesn't bother me. All right, so here, I'm starting with him again. His shoulder down like this. Then his hands like this. Again, I'm not trying to be perfectly accurate now. But he's got a big nose. I don't know if you noticed that. So put his nose in there just for now. Then he's on down here. From the chin to the crux of the arm is here. Kind of like where that's at. It's hunched over a little bit. From the elbow to the bottom of his shirt is kind of like that. That's why I like drawing those lines. Just that little thing, like, oh, it's from his elbow. Look down here. I look at the photograph. It looks like it's down about here, right? And then just comes down under his elbow. This line in the front of his shirt. So you get that. Then his leg comes kind of straight down. Then the other leg is kind of shaded a little bit back here. And I'll always check, use this perspective thing I was talking about. Like, okay, where is his elbow fall comparing to his foot? Those kinds of comparisons I'll do a lot of. So I'm going to do it right here. Coming down from his elbow, it's right coming into the middle of his foot. His elbow, so middle of his foot's here. So actually, he has to come back a little bit. And you actually see he's not stable. It's too far forward. His knee comes down kind of like behind his ear. So the knee is going to be further over here than I have it. So that's why we have rags and paint thinner. We don't like what we're seeing. We want to make those adjustments. That's why the figure is more challenging, because generally, knees belong where knees belong. It's not like we're painting Picasso here, where you can put things anywhere you want. At least not for me anyway. So the elbow down to the middle of his foot. The middle of his foot is about here. So it would be kind of like this. I'm sitting a little bit better now. Okay, so temporarily I have him. I'm gonna go on to her right now. Let's see how we're doing. Top of her head, and she's looking down. His nose, these little things like this. She's kind of looking down. Hairline's here, it's here. Shoulder here, comes down here. Her hand is going to be just kind of like near where his hand is. And further, she's in here. Then I would do the same thing here, put lines down from, where is she here? From, different parts of her face, see where they intersect with the legs and the feet and her arms and hands. So that's what I'll use a paintbrush for. Again, using just drawing right now. So the middle of her face on a straight line down comes right between both feet. It's nice to know. So here, I'll drop this down, and that would be about over here between the feet. So let's get in. All right. You'll come around like this. This one aims the other direction. And his feet are here. So I'm starting to get the figures in there. And again, I like to keep the figures like one step ahead. So now I'll actually go back and do some more drawing here on Adamanelli. I have his sign in here. The door is going to be pretty much over here. I have to make sure that they walk in there, are they going to be small enough to get in that door? That's that scale thing I was talking about. And this could work. This is the bottom of the building. It seemed to make sense. And then I see this stuff going on in here. Big window here. I like the way the window kind of frames them. There is this awning. And then they have this thin line. That's kind of weird. It is part of the awning, or I don't know what you call it. This thing here, the red stripe that goes across there, but they don't have it open all the way, so it's really hard to read what it is. I think I might just eliminate that. I didn't even do that one. I'm going to eliminate that. Then, just little additions. Some of this stuff doesn't have to be terribly accurate for me. And above Adamanelli, we also have this. It's darker in there. The doorway is here. And I don't know what's over here. I do know that awning. Yeah. Okay, so I have that. So that's like the foundation. I still need to cover the canvas. So I'm going to cover Adamanelli here, and the area above it. with some form, some color. With his sign, I see some. By the way, Adam Minnelli's been around for many generations. It's third or fourth generation ownership of this place. It's a beef place basically. So it's an old throwback in the village where everything is high-end clothing and stuff. This has been around for a long, long time. So I might just put something in here temporarily for this color. Anyway. Just to get a color in there, again, trying to, unfortunately, the canvas is rocking and rolling back and forth. That strip above here. Then above that is this orange. Actually, I would use a little cat orange, and why not? Again, this could all be adjusted later. This is what I would do. Just, light and shadow, intensity of color, all of it. So that awning over there. All right, but then, I think I would go ahead and indicate where the light is coming on the bottom of the. I'm not sure I need that actually. No, even though this shows light on the bottom of Adam Minnelli here. Oops, light over here. I'm not sure I need that. I kind of like the idea of the whole thing being shadow and everything else coming forward from that. So what I would do is clean the palette a little bit. I love using a razor knife and glass because it makes it so much easier. I tend to go for a lot of paint, a lot of paper towels, a lot of rags. Rags I like to keep them dirty. They're cheap, but I still like to keep them. I like that. Okay, so now I'm going back into the figures again and trying to keep them a step ahead of everything else. Right. Okay, so generally we paint the darks first. As you can see, it's kind of a mixed bag here because his back is dark. She's mostly in light and stuff. So I'm just going to brush in loosely, maybe a mid-tone for them. And here's where I would use black. I would take a little black, mix it with some white, and throw some yellow ochre in there. And then make that in his hat. I'm going to get a little blue to separate that from the color of his hat. Again, all this could be changed. Shadow under his arm. Then really picking colors is just a matter of, after a while, you work with them so long, after a while it becomes intuitive. You just grab the colors, you mix them together, you know what you're going to get, you put it on. That's the real benefit of spending 11 to 12 hours doing color charts. I really, I think I recommend it to anybody. Okay, and with her, she's got that blue jacket, so I do try to stick to the colors that the people are actually wearing. Sometimes I don't, I change them around, but other times I do. And really, so much of her, where it's in shade, is underneath where his arm, under his arm, there's a shadow on her shirt, so I put that in there. And then she has a little shadow under her other arm there. Then sometimes I just think, well, you know, I'm going to do this, so I might just indicate where the light is here. That's not enough of a separation, light and shadow yet, but it will be as I get along. The same thing I see for her pants. These elbows there, shirts there, elbows here. That's hers. Shadow here. Again, I'm just loosely putting color in there until it starts to make sense to me. It takes a while. It doesn't happen right away. Can't just whip it right out. It takes adjusting and going back and working with it, and that's the part I really love, because that's the challenging part. Then, you know, I might put some face color in, trying to do that. I like, you know, you get used to using the same color mixtures for some of the same things. Like I like to use a green and a red for the shadow parts of the form, the figure. If I'm painting from life and I have a model in the studio, then it's different. Then I can see, you just look longer, you can see all these colors start showing up in the face, violets and greens and blues and purples, oranges. But with this, it's different. You're not painting a model, you're painting just the light and shadow of the people, of your subjects. So you're not having all that variety in there. So with her, I'll just indicate where her face is here. And with him, just to start just to get it going here. Her hand there, the other his hand comes above hers. Anyway, that's just, now what I might do is put some, actually I'm gonna do what I just said. I'm gonna do is mix some shadow color, which to me is a green and red. Sometimes I throw in some other colors just for what do you call it? For change. It's not too dark enough. So I might put in some quinacridone. Adds a nice, just add something nice, whatever. Let's see. Just to get something, just to get it going. I'm not trying to nail it quite yet. But no, I'll go in and put some of the light on the figures. Again, I might go into some black and some yellow ochre. Mix it more like a light. Sometimes you get another color that you don't want, but get rid of that. Might mean taking the red. Get rid of it. And not quite sure this is the color of what he has on, but I like it. I'm not worry about how many paper towels I use. I feel bad for the trees. Yeah, come on, you got to think about the trees. You don't want to be responsible for knocking down too many trees. Right now, his head looks a little scrunchy to me. Yeah. We get some. While I'm doing this, I'll go back where I feel the need and just redraw, reestablish drawings and stuff. So I'll go on to her, and I'm going to go establish that dark blue again first. I like to mix some blue with some quinacridone, nice violet color. And that also gives me the opportunity to use the same mixture, but add white to get the light. So here's an example. So there's some of that blue. They say it's good to step back every once in a while, look what you're doing. And it's a good idea if you can remember to do it. Okay, her pants and his pants are kind of like the same color, but what am I gonna do here? I'm gonna do something else, I don't know. Some ochre, some green. Kind of so much in the light there. Maybe it'll yellow, orange to warm it up a little bit. starting to get feeling some figures. There are going to be corrections I'm going to make along the way. So I will look at this and say, his chin, and it's kind of like by feel. I don't know how else to describe it. I'll go at his chin down to his elbow. So his elbow is about over here. Time to reestablish drawing again. All right. I think at this point, what I would do is work more on the background. What I'm going to do is clean the palette again. What I'm not going to do is definitely not going to finish this painting in an hour or two. I mean, I'm going to see what I could go a little further with, try to make some corrections, fill in some of the big areas, and then work on it back at the studio. So, I'll go back into the sidewalk now, because now it's kind of wishy-washy there. So I am going to start, I tend to like to start my sidewalks with yellow ochre. Just a habit I have. And now the complement of yellow would be violet, so often I put violet in, and it kind of changes the nature of that ochre. Then I might put in a touch of green, because I find some of the sidewalks, yeah, I like this. So just brush it in, again, knowing that there are going to be changes along the way later. And then I would also go into the street then, and add more that violet color I like, because the streets, there's gutters, call them gutters, I guess, in New York, are, there's a lot of that violet blue in there. I just want to try to get the value in there. I like to make them darker than the sidewalk. And being that the light from these figures, actually you can see it where the bottom of their feet, the direction of the sun is coming, running the shadow behind their feet. So I would definitely go back into sidewalk color, maybe add a little black there. And even though you can't see where the shadows go, just kind of indicate where they might be. That's the direction of the light. And I'm gonna make adjustments. I think this thing is probably still too dark here, but here, going back to Ottomanelli now, where it is light, this sign is in the light, and I definitely have it too dark. That's an adjustment I'm gonna make. I don't like to use a lot of brushes when I paint. I know some friends of mine might have 10, 15 brushes out there. I'm stingy. I don't know why. I just got in that habit. I can do a painting with 3 or 4 brushes. continually clean them, and makes me happy. So that, okay. You know, if you look at this, you actually see a greenish cast in that sidewalk. I don't know if you can see that in the photograph. So I'm definitely going to add a little bit of that later. But here, out of the Nelly sign, probably what I'm doing now is I'm really going through the steps faster than I ordinarily would because it's a demo. I would be taking my time way more than this, but I'm going with thicker paint earlier because it is a demo. So you know, the lettering, of course, I'll put it later. That's really important. I've done a whole series of paintings in the Greenwich Village in the last 3 or 4 months. I don't know, about 8, 10 of them maybe, all over the place. And I like doing that. I like doing series like that. Where am I going to go with this? Okay. Then there's that awning, the white awning. I do like using complements like blue and orange. That's going to be. You see, it's picking up some of the color underneath, so it's not letting me do it as white as I would like, as bright as I would like yet. But I'm going to get into that. In fact, what I might even do. This is an example. This again I wouldn't be going this far this early in the painting. So I would just rub out the underneath there, which is really, I love doing that. Get what I want. Even this rag is getting kind of ratty. Okay. So then, where's that stuff? Rubber cleaning the brushes. Okay. So now I might put just indicate a little more the value of that might be, even though I'm still not quite there yet, I understand. I am going to actually do what I love doing, which is it indicates to me where things are going to be. These lines will always don't stay. They're guides to me now. They kind of help set up stuff for me. Let's see. There are these really interesting orange. Okay, I'm looking at this backwards. Anyway, these orange posts on either side of Adamanelli, they're pretty strong. So I'm going right for cadmium orange, and I'll put some. Well, here's an example. I'm going to put a little tiny bit of black in there. And a lot of orange, maybe some red. And I'll put these in. See what they are. And you can always change your mind as you're going through stuff. I might still change my mind and say, you know, I do want light down here. So if that's the case, it's easy enough to do. I'm going to make that a little bit darker. Make it a little bit darker, it'll kind of give me room to put light in. underneath it. Yeah, I think it's gonna be interesting to do that, to put light. So what I would do, let's say, because I have so much underpainting layers on there, I really have to get rid of it to put down what I want. But that's the beauty of oil paint and this particular canvas, which gives you a smooth surface. But then I might just color that thing. It's pretty bright. Just experimenting with, actually there's another one over here. And I would add, probably could use a little more green in there, I'm thinking. The bottom, the light is on the bottom. First, I'm going to have to put the dark part of it in. So it would be so then I would light that up. Put the light in it. Down below. Now I'd go back in and darken behind them. One of my favorite combinations of is green and quinacridone. Even though putting it to solid dark, that's going to change later on in the painting. I'm going to adjust all that. All this is going to be adjusted for me as I go along. Nothing is set in stone. Again, the most important thing to me are the figures. So I would spend more time with them. Not quite sure how much more I'm going to do here. Maybe a little more. I also like to lighten up that screen a little bit. I like to don't bother with the feet right away, but it's a good idea to indicate where they are. Draw them in later. More. Where it is. Just to anchor them a little bit. Again, I wouldn't have this much paint on the faces and hands and anything yet. I'd still be in the process of building it up slowly, but I'm not doing that now, so the heck with that. I'm gonna head and what color do I have here? Pretty shirt. Looks like some violet. Warm it up a little orange maybe. Try to be sure this color I'm going to wind up using when I'm done with this. I'm going to take it in tomorrow and take a look at it, see where I want to go with it. Yeah, he has a nice, what he would do, he has a nice little white goatee there. Funny. Anyway, that's for later. Hat. She's got sunglasses stuck over her head here. Okay, don't. What I'm going to put in, just going to put in a clump of hair for now instead. And of course, later on, I'd be more concerned with drawing the hands accurately, rather than just smushing them in as I did, which I'm going to do later. Yes. Well, actually, you know, this, what the heck? This guy is standing in the doorway here. He's got to be back high, his head has to be as. Anyway, may put something, I may put him in later a little bit. I think he adds something to it. I might also, even though it's not here, at some point I might put in a fire hydrant here. for balance, I think that really helps balancing the whole painting out. So I think what I do when I get to the studio tomorrow, I'll probably scrub out a lot of this stuff, take this out, keep it thin, and then build it up gradually again. But it was like Otto Manelli here, the way he has his sign, pretty bright. You know, so I put the letters in later. I'm not going to do it now, but just get the idea. And behind the letters, it'll be pretty dark. Behind those letters, the background, that's kind of like how it would be. Sun's here. I'd be careful with this later. If you want to cover the canvas, just want to get that white out of there. Now, and at some point, if I do decide to put the shadows from the fire escape, maybe. And you always have a light from the ladder coming down. So again, I'm just going through this fast. Last thing I'm going to do is just do a little in the background of that sign, because it is it's kind of in the light somewhat, but it's still kind of dark. And that later on will give me a background to put the letters on. The letters stick out really nice, because that's what this painting is about, Otto Manelli. I would have fun at some point, really brightening things up and going after it more aggressively. Even something like this. Just going to get value right. I'm not worried about too much of the drawing quite yet. The shadow underneath that. So that sign casts kind of a shadow on that. I don't know. I mean, it's still a little too pasty. I'll definitely strengthen that later. And with these guys here, see what I would do with them. She's definitely wearing something here that I don't have. What am I going to give her here? get the idea that they're kind of engaged. I mean, the gestures are kind of okay. It's not how I would leave it. Certainly finished. I might even, like with the hands, I'm going to do something here. Both hands are in the light, so I am going to see if I can get a shape. Not worried about fingers or anything like that. So with his hand, just an indication here. Our hand's going to be more difficult. Just something that I could work on later. I'd have to play around with that later. Him, we want to get that shadow on his face better. So anyway, more time. Just kind of give myself something to work with when I get back into it tomorrow. So it would generally take me about 5 hours, maybe 5 or 6 hours to finish this whole thing. I wouldn't do it all in one day. I'd probably start it and come back. I'd like to do it maybe over 3 days, 5 or 6 hours over 3 days. That's my preference. So each day I can come back. What I would do is take a picture of it as the progress, put it on my computer, look at it, and look at the photo and say, what is this missing? What do I need? And then the next day go back and work on that. So that is going to be one more thing that I want to do here. And get that awning. That awning needs something more. And I don't have any reference material for photos for this, but it would be something along those lines. I just think that really would help balance out the composition. Anyway, that would be the idea. So there, that's it. I rushed through it a little bit, which I prefer not to do. I would, like I said, I would take my time more. That's how I would paint. But sometimes just putting the paint down anyway, you find some interesting things. And I wanted to get the gesture of the figures fairly well. Actually, his back can kind of blend in with the background behind there. So that's it. Thank you.
We should like to thank Philip Levine for giving such an interesting demonstration on painting the figure from photographs. We hope you found it both interesting and informative. We should also like to thank First Republic Private Wealth Management for their generous sponsorship of tonight's program. Our next event will be our December open house fundraiser on December 4th from 11 a.m. to 4 p.m. at the Atelier. We will be pleased to present live demonstrations, raffles, and secondhand book sales. Please look out for our email about this open house and other upcoming events and classes. Thank you and good night.